Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High Yahuwah Elohim. This is your boy, your friend, your brother, Frenchie, the West African Yasharan. Today's topic, investigation, is going to be about the 12 tribes chart. Yes, I'm here to expose the 12 tribe chart because this chart is very, very, very false. Yeah, I repeat, yeah, the Native Americans and the Hispanics, Latinos, and either the Europeans are not Israelites. And there's many, many facts and many ways to prove it. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm not even trying to prove anything to anybody. The truth is out there. You can see it on your own. Yeah. And I'm doing this video for those that want the truth. Yeah, those that want the truth. And it's what that's the whole purpose of this YouTube channel anyway. Yeah. The worst thing about this chart is that it started with a dream. So the man had a dream, and by that we all gotta believe it. Like, seriously, people, I do not know why some of our people are following these campers, and most of these campers are why they're preaching. When you see them, they don't look like people that you can listen to be honest. Yeah, especially when they preach nonsense out there on street corners. Yeah, but that's not a big problem anyway. As I was saying, this video is for people that look for truth. Yeah, the truth is out there. You can seek it, you can find it, you can look for it, you can do all things with this truth. Yeah, it's out here for us, black people, to look for it. Yeah, and it's only down to us to find it. Yeah, so I'm gonna lay out evidences, biblical evidences and geographical evidences and archaeological evidences and everything to prove, or to make people understand that this 12 chart is completely false, and we should not follow it. As I always say myself, and I made a documentary about it, I am a descendant of the 10 lost tribes, or the northern kingdom of Israel if you want. Yeah, and I'm from Africa. I will not that strange people take on my heritage. So shalom, and let's get it started.
I know the Israelites were black. I know that for a fact. But where you get your chart saying that I'm Issachar, I don't believe that.
Why not?
Who gave you that chart?
Hold on, fam.
Who gave you that chart?
Let me say something right quick.
Hold on. Who gave you that chart?
Hold on. I'm going to answer that.
But I already asked you a question. I said I don't believe in it.
All right, that's what you said.
And you're not wanting to tell me who gave you that chart.
Listen, the Most High gave us the chart. It's in Genesis 49. It's in Deuteronomy 33. It's in Deuteronomy 28.
the guy that gave you the chart?
It's in Leviticus 26. It's in Daniel, the 9th chapter. It's in the book of Chronicles throughout the Bible. Now, before
I know I need that chart.
and I said, well, I just gave it to you, the Bible.
No,
So
you didn't say who.
Let me say this.
Who's the guy who had a vision? Who had a vision about the chart? Who had a vision?
There is
What's his name?
High Priest Arion. The Most High showed him the trial.
What happened?
And then, hold on.
He had a
You
vision,
want to ask me a
right?
question? You're not going to let me respond?
He had a vision. I don't believe in men that have vision. I don't believe in vision.
So, as you heard the guy, he said you don't believe in men having visions. Yeah, or should I say dream. So we're gonna go read a few scriptures here to confirm what this Mexican guy told the guy, because he's right. We are not to believe any man or any prophet or so-called prophets that says he had a dream. Yeah, so let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23. Yeah, Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 25, 26, and 28. Jeremiah chapter 23. Yeah. Verse 25, 26, and 28. I've heard what the prophet said. That prophecy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed. 26. How long shall these be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies. Yeah, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart. Yeah? Let's jump down to 28. The prophets that have a dream, let him tell a dream. And he that hath my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is the chaff to the wheat? Says Yahuwah. Yeah? So we're not to believe anybody, but I'm going to get it from the Apocrypha. Yeah? Precept upon this one. Verse 25, you can get a precept up on it. Yeah? Let's go to Sirach, or you can say Ecclesiasticus, chapter 34. Yeah? Chapter 34, verse 1. And then we're going to do from verse 5 through 10. Yeah? Let's read. The hope of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. Let's jump to verse 5. Divinations and soothsaying and dreams are vain, and the heart fancieth as a woman's heart in travail. If they be not sent from the Most High in thy visions, set not thy heart upon them. For dreams have deceived many. Yeah? Many of these people that believe in the 12 charts are deceived by these dreams. Yeah? Thank you, Yahuwah, for this word. Yeah, let me keep going. And they have failed that put their trust in them. The law shall be found perfect without lies, and his 12 chart is a big lie, and wisdom is perfection to a faithful mouth. Hallelujah. A man that have traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience would declare wisdom. He that hath no experience knoweth little, but he that hath traveled is full of prudence. Yes. Yes. You see what I'm saying? This is how we know that this church is a lie, because a lot of things that I'm going to recover in this documentary, yeah, they did not know it when they started with this church chart. Yeah, they did not know those things, and those things, yeah, those things that I discovered, yeah, throughout my research, yeah, they're very easy to know. So that's why verse 9 is for these people that believe in the church charts. Yeah, we have to be prudent, but that's only if we have wisdom. But since people want to believe in dreams, they are deceived. But today, I'm here to make sure that you are deceived no more.
And so in the year 1421, some 70 years before Columbus, if Menzies is right, the Chinese may at last have made landfall on the continent of America. He cites as evidence a research paper co-authored by 11 geneticists, one of whom was Gabriel Novick's. The paper says that Native American DNA is closer to Chinese than European or African DNA, and that this genetic mixing could have happened 10 or 12,000 years ago, when people migrated across the Bering Straits, which is a fairly recent occurrence in DNA terms.
Now this is Professor Novick's research of close similarity between the Chinese and the Native Americans suggests recent gene flow formation. All of the places where Chinese DNA is.
Now let's discuss the Native Americans as the commonly depicted Native Americans throughout history, the ones with red skin, being in the Americas as the first inhabitants and how they got to the Americas. Anthropology states that two main groups of what we now call the Native Americans traveled out of Asia 23,000 years ago. They believe the groups splintered off from an East Asian population. The group from Northeast Asia crossed the Bering Land Bridge, known as the Bering Strait, between Northeast Asia and Alaska, eventually making their way to the rest of the Americas. They also state that 10,000 years later, or about 13,000 years ago, Native Americans started to split into different groups, creating different tribes across North and South America. However, anthropologists divided the migration groups into two. One is the first Americans, being Northeast Asian, and another they identify as Population Y, which carried ancestry more closely related to indigenous Australians. That's your aboriginals with dark skin and straight to wavy hair from Australia. This explains why some Native Americans are shown in images with very dark skin and straight hair. These are descendants of the Australian aboriginals. These aboriginals would have also been victims of slavery. So if you believe that you are an American aboriginal or descendant, you're implying that you are a descendant of the Australian aboriginals who migrated into the Americas along with the Northeast Asians, who had straight or wavy loose curled hair. So I have to ask you, if you're an aboriginal of America, why is your hair Afro-textured? As you'll all agree, you may have seen images of dark-skinned Native Americans and also Australian aboriginals, but their hair has never been Afro-textured. Native Americans today can trace their ancestry to Eurasian migrants with Australasian ancestry, which adds tangible evidence and proof to the research and studies. So this would of course mean that there would have been darker-skinned Native Americans as well as lighter-skinned Native Americans based on these two groups. What I will say, if you believe you are an aboriginal of the Americas, take a DNA test. It will show if you have Australasian or Eurasian ancestry as well as Native American ancestry. And if it comes back instead with countries from Africa, well, self-hate is a hell of a drug. But self-love is an incredible cure. Also, the oldest bones and artifacts correlate with this information. Now, how do African people or black people fit into this migration? Are the so-called African Americans descendants of the dark-skinned, straight-haired Australian aboriginals? No. The hair alone would tell you different. As I stated, Australian aboriginals were created by Homo sapien and Denisovan DNA as well as some Neanderthal DNA, hence why they look different to the black Papua New Guineans, who still look like African people. The teachings that Africans came before Columbus was not based on mass migration of huge numbers of African people to the Americas before these Eurasians and Australasian peoples. It was after this migration, but before Columbus discovered the Americas and the natives. Now I say discover, but he didn't discover America. Firstly, you can't discover a people and a continent that was already here, had their own culture and civilization. There's overwhelming evidence that proves that African people regularly sailed across the Atlantic to the Americas, thousands of years before Columbus. Ancient civilizations from Egypt and West African countries traveled to the Americas, teaching the natives how to build a civilization. They brought with them the art of pyramid building, political systems, and religious practices, as well as mathematics, writing, and a sophisticated calendar. And if you don't believe me, well, maybe you'll believe a white man. Christopher Columbus himself wrote in his journal, black-skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. This was documented in 1920 by renowned American historian and linguist Leo Weiner of Harvard University in his book Africa and the Discovery of America. One of the first documented instances of Africans sailing and settling in the Americas were black Egyptians led by King Ramses III during the 19th dynasty in 1292 BC. In 1311 AD, another major wave of African exploration to the New World was led by King Abu Bakari II, the ruler of the 14th century Mali Empire, which was larger than the Roman Empire. The king sent out 200 ships of men and 200 ships of trade material, crops, animals, cloth, and African knowledge of astronomy, religion, and art. Travel in the seas and oceans was not a European invention, but in fact was started by the African people. In the early 1940s, archaeologists uncovered a civilization known as the Olmecs of 1200 BC, which predated any other advanced civilization in the Americas. The Olmec civilization, which was of African origin and dominated by Africans. This was the first significant civilization in the Americas. Olmecs are known for the giant carved heads found in central Mexico that have unmistakable African Negroid features. Historian Professor Ivan van Sertima explains how Olmecs were the first Mesoamerican civilization to use a written language, sophisticated astronomy, arts, and mathematics, and they built the first cities in Mexico, all of which greatly influenced the Mayans and other Native American civilizations. Africans played an integral role in the Olmec Empire's rise, and that African influence was happening during the same period as the ancient Black Egyptian civilization. Need more evidence? Easy. They found narcotics, cocaine, and nicotine native to America inside ancient Egyptian mummies. These substances are only derived from American plants. This could only happen by trade between Africa and America. Need more? They found statues of animals like lions, elephants, and gorillas, which are not found in the Americas, but in Africa in Native American civilization. The Mayans, Aztecs, and Incas all worship black gods. They have paintings and surviving artwork that show dark-skinned gods with Negro features with woolly hair. But one of the major things is American pyramids. Pyramid construction is highly specialized. Ancient Egyptians started out with the step pyramids and eventually progressed to the smooth pyramids you see in Giza. But in La Venta, Mexico, the Olmecs made a fully finished pyramid. The Olmecian and Egyptian periods were both placed on the same north-south axis and had the same construction methods. Both the pyramids in America and Africa served the same dual purpose: tombs and temples. What I'm telling you is only a tiny fraction of the similarities. The Olmecs created and carved the heads of the African explorers who came from Africa and taught them about religion, mathematics, astronomy, civilization, and so much more, to forever praise them and show gratitude for the gifts Africa gave to the Americas. Clearly, Africans helped civilize America way before Europeans even knew America existed, and way before Europeans claimed to have civilized Africa. So now you know the African people definitely discovered the Americas before the Europeans. You know they civilized the Native Americans. You know there was 2 waves of Native American migrations: people from Northeast Asia, the lighter skin group, and Australasian Aborigines, the darker skin group. Even if you believe your ancestors were already here before anyone else, you still had to come from Africa. They still had to migrate from Africa. Therefore, you're African. But take a DNA test and see for yourself. Africa built the world. Don't be ashamed of being a descendant of Africa.
And if you do not want to believe this guy in his documentary, there's plenty of evidences, you know what I'm saying, that the Africans discovered America. And I'm not talking about the African Israelites. I am talking about the Hamites. Yeah? And that's the reason why you see the close resemblance in traditions. You know what I'm saying? Because the Africans, Hamites, gave their religions and traditions to the Native Americans, kind of. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the reason why you see resemblance, like you can see some Native Americans having plates in their mouth, like the people in Africa. You see what I mean? So one more proof that the Native Americans, yeah, they're not Israelites. Yeah. But I will leave some stuff, you know what I'm saying, in the description below for the doubters. Yeah. So let's keep it going. So yeah, also quickly a little touch on history. So if in case anybody wanted to believe that the King Mansa Musa from Africa that discovered America, if it was an Israelite, no, it's not an Israelite. Yeah. He was a Hamite, indeed. But what people do not know is that the Shemite Israelite, or the Jews of Africa, if you want to call it that, they lived among the Hamites as well at one point in the Western Sudan Empire. Yeah, but that's another lesson from the day. Yeah, so the kingdom of Timbuktu, right? This name was in our time, as some think, imposed upon this kingdom from the name of certain towns, so-called, which they said King Mensa Suleiman. Yeah, Mensa Suleiman, founded in the year of the Hijriya. Yeah, so Mensa is the same family as Keita and all these kings. Yeah, that founded America. Yeah, and we're going to jump down. So just to remind you, that's page 28 and 29 of Western African history. Excuse me. Yeah. So now I'm on page 29, and we read, "And the king, so soon as he heareth that any merchants are come to town with horses, he commandeth a certain number to be brought before him, and chooses the best horse for himself. He payeth a most liberal price for him. He so deadly hated all Ayus, basically Jews." But something you gotta think about, yeah. How comes we talk about Jews in Africa? You see what I mean? That he will not admit any into his city, and whosoever barbarian merchants he understandeth have any dealing with the Ayus, which is Jews, he presently causeth their goods to be confiscated. Yeah? So understand, these people are not Israelites. So in case you want to try to say that the Africans that discovered America was Israelite, it's not true. Western African history speaks for itself. Thank you. Just for this segment, I'm just going to talk about the mixing between Negroes and the Indian, because a mix did happen in certain occasions. You know what I'm saying? It was not a wild thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but we need to speak about it, because people want to cry all the time. Yeah, the Indians, they blah, 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 and they have Indian DNA and all that, you know what I'm saying? Or they have a Indian ancestor and all that. Yeah, now we're going to get in touch with that. We're going to see what it was about, because it is for a reason that they mixed, you know what I'm saying? Or should I say various reasons, yeah? So we're going to go to page, just to remind, this is African slavery in the Latin American and the Caribbean, yeah? And we are in page 38, yeah? And we read, "The mosquito presence complicated the dynamics of slavery and the blackness in Central America. To meet the demands of growing British laborers' needs in the Caribbean, the mosquito served as slavers raiding the Spanish colonies of Honduras, Panama, and Costa Rica for the remaining Indians, especially the so-called wild Indians who had not been completely conquered. Yeah, they also entered into agreement with the British government to serve as bounty hunters. Interesting, yeah. In the search for black fugitive slaves. In the 1720s, they boarded ships bound for Jamaica to destroy Maroons settlements. Interesting, very interesting. In the meantime, a limited number of black runaway slaves from various Spanish and British settlements in Central America found their way into mosquito-controlled areas. Here, they either become absorbed into the culture. You see your mixing? Or were shielded and protected from their former masters. On a number of occasions, the mosquito also refused to answer the British call to serve as bounty hunters. In retrospect, the social institution of slavery proved crucial to the development of the mosquito people and their identity. Not being purely black, the mosquito conceived of themselves as free from the legacy of African slavery. So they still point to differences. Not being completely Indian, they further saw themselves as beyond the scope of being captured as slaves for the British market. Yet, at the same time, being both Indian and black also made the mosquito somewhat ambivalent in their loyalties to Europeans. They offered Europeans their services and talents only when they felt inconvenient and necessary. Consequently, this unique Afro-Indian population came to occupy a fragile space in between multiple colonial identities. Interesting. Now let's go read page 35. Not wrong yet, 35, because you're going to understand. So, not what we just read, we understood that this mixing of the Mosquito people, it was because some runaway slaves went into this unconquered native Indians nations. You see what I'm saying? But if you take a look at what happened in, if not wrong, Guatemala, you'll see that there was a reason behind the mixing as well. Let's check this out. So page 35 now, in the same book, African Slavery in the Latin American and Caribbean. Regardless of whether blacks comprised a significant or small elements of certain regional populations in the colony, the lower amount of slave imports to Guatemala definitely affected key personal relationships, such as marriage. When compared with slaves in colonies like Mexico, black slaves in early 17th century, Guatemala tended to marry outside of their race and in status with far greater frequency. It seems that small number of African women reaching Guatemala compelled male slaves to seek other wives. Many took Indian brides, particularly those classified by the colonial government as tribute payers, thereby representing one of the lowest and most accessible categories of native women. And if we jump down a little bit here, evidence from Mexico City, by contrast, show that from 1595 to 1695, most slaves married other slaves. Given the large number of male and female slaves coming into the cities, there were greater possibilities for slave intermarriage to occur than in Guatemala. And if you jump down a little bit, it would not be until the late 17th century that black Guatemalan slaves would begin marrying other black in significant numbers, as might be expected. These marriages were conducted largely by slave men who, towards the 18th century, so that's like a century later, began marrying free mulatto and black women, both of whom were considered to be of higher status than the social inferior native tributary. So it's like today, you know what I mean? It's like today. When our brothers, they marry white women and all that, is the same thing. It's because of status in society. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Yeah, and by the way, I'm not with a coding, so, you know what I'm saying? Israelite men better be with an Israelite woman, which is a Negro woman, and a Negro man, if you want it like that, All right, I'm not with nonsense. I'm not with BS, Black love. All right, now we reach page 36. Check this out. Women realize that black actually enjoy a slightly higher status in the social hierarchy, Securing a marriage to a black, even a slave, ensured that their children will benefit from being of mixed race ancestry, an Indian, mulatto, or Zombo. Meanwhile, for slaves, marrying native women not only guaranteed liberty for their offspring, but also ensured them partial access to the world of the free. So you see what I mean? Even back then, our brothers knew that it was better to not be with a black woman. I mean, in their eyes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because even nowadays, our black sisters are still, you know, subjugated by the society. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? And black men are partakers in this nonsense. You know what I mean? When the Most High said that we should stay together, we should marry each other, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? But that was that little touch on the mixing. Yeah? I hope I made myself a bit clear, yeah? If you do not understand a bit, you can rewind and all that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? So let's keep it going. So, let's deal with the Bible now quickly. Yeah? So since people want to use the slavery of the Indians to say that they were Israelite too, we're going to deal with that. Yeah? Because the prophecies of the Most High shall come to pass, right? Yeah? So we know that the Israelites were cursed. You know what I'm saying? Because they did not respect the law, statute, the commandment on the Most High, right? Okay. So we're going to read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45 and 46. Yeah? Let's read, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, so till you be destroyed, because thy hearkenest not unto the voice of the Most High, Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So these curses, they're supposed to be on the Israelites for sign and for wonder. So you'll be like, hang on, this curses, but that makes me Israelite. You know what I'm saying? This is not a little thing, And he says, the Most High said, forever. So we're going to read now, still in Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read now, Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. So Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people. So the Israelite will be scattered among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. That sounds like transatlantic slave trade and sub-Saharan slave trade as well. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone. So the gods going to be of wood. That sounds like so-called Jesus Christ, Christianity, and stone, the cube of Mecca. That's what it sounds like to me. And only black people, tends to have these curses on them, believing in the false images of the Mashiach, of Christianity, in this false cube that are up there in Arabia with the Edomites. But let me go to the Apocrypha quickly to back this up as well. Apocrypha. So I'm going to go to Baruch chapter 4, verse 6, and also the Apocrypha, if you could check it up, or if you want to look it up, it was in the KJV 1611, and I'm reading actually from the KJV. So don't be scared if you do not know anything about it. Just go look it up. Right? So Baruch chapter 4, verse 6 and 7. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Elohim to wrath. Ye were delivered unto the enemies, for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing to devils and not to Elohim. So sounds a bit like this. 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people. So the Israelites, was scattered. Or should I say, all nations, right? So we know now. Now let's read, and from one end to another, It's not no jokes. Yeah, we know that only black people were scattered everywhere during their slave trades. Yeah, let's read now Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. Yeah, and Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again. We know that Egypt is significant for slavery. Yeah, if you read Exodus chapter 21, I think if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's significant. It's not really Egypt like that. Again, with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. So slave men and slave women. Check this out. And no man shall buy you. So, as we know that the curses of Deuteronomy 28 is for all Israelites, when the Moses said no man shall buy you, he said no one's going to help you. Yeah? But what you're going to see with the Indian slavery, they received help. But let's see.
Why were most slaves in the New World Africans, especially considering West Africa is thousands of miles away from the Americas and Europe? Remember that the colonies were established to make money for royal families and wealthy colonists, and a small class of wealthy colonists who owned large plantations looked to increase their margins through not paying for the labor that generated their cash crops. So it wasn't that slavery was needed to develop the colonies, but rather that it was decided that this was the quickest way to enrich the people invested in getting rich. First, early attempts in the Americas to enslave Native Americans proved difficult because they had familiarity with the terrain of their own nations and land. As a result, the potential for escape or revolt was high. Second, West Africa was often the source of forced and kidnapped laborers because of its proximity to seaports, which made contact between these three locations more possible. Also, laborers from West African countries were more familiar with the agricultural methods needed for mass cultivation of these kinds of crops in the New World.
All right, so we're going to this book, Black Slave and Indian Masters. Yeah. Page 21, and let's see what it says. No longer desired as slaves by colonial planters, Indians were instead often pressed into service as slave catchers. Policing both the territorial divide between the colonies and Indian country, and the even more rigid distinction of race and status that defined colonial slave societies, hoping to preclude any concerted act of resistance or rebellion among Africans and Indians. Carolina and Louisiana lawmakers routinely demanded that their Indian allies catch and surrender runaway African slaves, often including this requirement into their treaties and diplomatic agreement with southern native people. We're going to jump down a little bit and read this one. So Indians generally had a little choice but to follow French and British authorities, because remember, Mississippi, I think, and Louisiana, was French at first. Yeah, just doing touching history. Authorities demand that they capture and return fugitive slaves, that they were never simply helpless pawns in a colonial game of dividing and conquering subjugated people. To the contrary, many Southern Indians routinely discerned opportunities to pursue their own interests while making good on the commitments to their colonial allies. You see what I mean? Yeah, that's the reason why they ended the slavery, because they believed that Indians could be white in some way, shape, form. And if you look at the Native Americans or the Latinos nowadays, they're very pale people. You know what I'm saying? They're pale-skinned people because of this. But you're going to see more. You are going to see more. Let's go back to African slavery in Latin America, yeah, and in the Caribbean. Page 18. Yeah. Let's read up what it says. Initially, it appears as a few thousand Iberians, which is like European, like Spain, I think France, and Netherlands, and all that. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. Iberians conquistadors who turned towards Indian slavery as a major form of labor in America, already using the enslaved labor of Africans, Muslims, Europe, and the Atlantic Iceland. The first Spaniards and Portuguese immediately went about enslaving all American Indians that they could find and keep. But for a series of political, cultural, and religious reasons, the government of both Spain and Portugal decided against permanently enslaving the American Indians. So I thought the Most High said, "No man shall buy you." Both governments had just finished with unsettlement and other form of semi-free labor arrangement, and were committed to the principle free wage labor. Yeah, let's go down a little bit. Not all Indians were treated as free persons, of course. Yeah, in certain fringes areas of Spanish kingdoms, natives were sometimes enslaved. In modern day New Mexico, for instance, which remained in concurrent region for much of the colonial period, Spaniards enslaved Indians into the 18th century, well after the law had formally eliminated native slavery. So they had a law for it. You see what I mean? They had a law for it, but there was no laws at this time for so-called African slaves, or should I say the Israelites, because the Most High said, "No man shall buy you." Anyway, a number of these slaves were the prisoners of Spanish expeditionary and military forces. Others were purchased directly from Indians who had taken prisoner in intertribal conflict. Frontier slavery in this context was justified as a means of civilizing these otherwise lost Indians, but rarely did their captivity seamlessly and intimately integrate them into Hispanic lives. Yeah, although important to the domestic sphere, native slaves did not comprise a primary workforce even in this frontier economy. And in New Mexico, at least, native slavery was not seen as a permanent condition. By 18th century, their captivity resembled indentured servitude, since slaves retained their status for just 10 years. Native slavery probably persisted as long as it did along the Spanish frontier because of the weakness of governing institutions in the kingdom outer areas, and because constant warfare produced a steady source of captives closer to the core of the kingdom. There were more internal stabilities, and the laws of Spain were more strongly felt. Consequently, in this area, Indian slaves had largely disappeared by the late 18th century. So that's actually the start of the slave trade, like when it increases. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Jump down right here. Also, the weakness of the political system of the Tupi-Guarani Indian groups that conquered on the Brazilian coastline and the inexperience of these Indians with systematic peasant labor made them less easy to exploit through non-coercive labor arrangements. So, you see what I mean? Yeah? They had to end this slavery because, once again, these people were not the people of the Bible. The Most High made it possible for the real Israelite in Africa to be slaved over these people. You see what I mean? Yeah? And we're going to read more. We're going to receive more. Don't worry about it. So we'll keep explaining the slavery of the natives. So that's a document, made by a Hispanic man himself through his own research. Natives were kept as slaves too. And we're gonna explain and see that the slavery of the Indians were way different than the African slavery, or should I say the Israelite slavery. Remember the Most High said, "No man shall buy you." And you're gonna see the difference. Others followed in the admiral's lead, like the English, French, Dutch, and Portuguese, all become important participants in the Indian slave trade. Spain, however, by virtue of the large and densely populated colonies it ruled, became the dominant slaving power. Indeed, Spain was to Indian slavery what Portugal and later England were to African slavery. Ironically, Spain was the first imperial power to formally discuss and recognize the humanity of Indians. So, all throughout slavery for black people, nobody recognized that they were humans. You see what I mean? Remember the Most High said, "No man shall buy you." Anyway, in the early 1500s, the Spanish monarchs prohibited Indian slavery except in the special cases, and after 1542 they abandoned the practice altogether. You see what I mean? Once again, their slavery was way different than the slavery of the real Israelites. Remember the Most High said in Deuteronomy, and that was for all Israelites, "No man shall buy you." Let's keep it going. Unlike African slavery, which remained legal and firmly sustained by racial prejudice and struggle against Islam, the enslavement of natives was against the law. You hear that, family? You hear that? Yet this categorical prohibition did not stop generations of determined conquistadors and colonists from taking native slaves on the planetary scale from the eastern seaboard of the United States to the tip of South America and from the Canary Islands to Philippines. So we understand again that their slavery was way different. Once again, you read, unlike African slavery, which remained legal. Do you understand? All these people thought it was okay to enslave black people, but somehow, they thought that it was not okay to enslave the Indians. You see what I mean? And now people want to say that all Indians, or should I say the Latinos, suffer from the curse of Deuteronomy 28. Nah, it's not true, people. It's not true at all. But let's keep it going. All right. So back in African slavery in Latin America and the Caribbean, we need to know, why did it stop the slavery of the Indians? We're gonna go a little bit through it just for educational purposes. All right. So I'm here in page 45. Here in page 45. Sorry, excuse me. And we read, although Portuguese effort in this area showed that the enslaved in and that Indian labor force could be created out of the Tupi-Guarani Indian of the coast. Despite an open frontier and constant warfare with Indian groups, the institution of Indian slavery, which now claimed 10,000 of the Indians, was doomed to failure. The most important factor undermining its importance was the endemic disease the Europeans brought with them, which became epidemic when they affected the Indians. And in 1560s, at the height of the Indian slavery, a major smallpox epidemic broke out among these previously unexposed population of Indians. It was estimated that 30,000 Indians under Portuguese control, either on plantations or Jesuit missions villages, died of disease. This susceptibility to disease, along with their shorter life expectancy, result in a lower price for Indian slaves than for African slaves. See what I mean? When combined with the increasing crown hostility towards enslaved men, especially after the unification of the Portuguese crown with that of the Spain after 1580s, Indian slavery was made less secure and more difficult to maintain. Check this out. The decline in the utilities of Indian slave labor, combined with the increasing wealth of Brazilian planters, led to the beginning of mass importations of African slave labor after 1570s. I mean, it's gonna jump down. The fact that the sugar trade now boomed was of immense importance to this transition from Indian to African slavery. See the word transition? Yeah? So they changed it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? So you cannot tell me that the Indians suffer from the curse of Deuteronomy 28. That's not true. They did not suffer from it. It is not true. The Most High said, no man shall buy you. See what I mean? Yeah, no one's going to help you. And it was talking to all Israel. Yeah? So you cannot tell me that if you believe that the Indians were Israelites, how comes the slavery of black people was legal and all that? Yeah, and their slavery ceased. Like, come on, people. Come on, like, real talk. Anyway, I'm going on page 18 now. We're going to read a bit more. Using traditional Indian nobility and accepting pre-conquest tax and government structures proved a far more efficient way of exploiting available labor. Finally, the commitment to an evangelical mission and doubt about the legitimacy of enslaving Christians pushed the Spanish crown towards acceptance of, check this out, American Indian autonomy. See what I mean? Yeah? Obviously, we know that it kept enslaving them and Lolo and all that. But believe me, most of these Indians were free, yeah, when they were what they call African slaves, or should I say the real Israelites, the Hebrews, yeah? And we're going to go to page 19 now. Thus, for multiplicity of economic, political, and even religious reasons, the Iberians, the Europeans basically, yeah, eventually abandoned the possibility of Indian slavery. Wow, you understand that now? Yeah, they thought that these people were humans, and they thought that black people were not humans. Goes back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. The Most High said, No man shall buy you. No man's going to help you. So it may be possible that people believe that you were not human, brother and sisters. You see what I mean? Yeah. All right. So now we need to go through this story of mixing between the European and the Indians. Now we're going to read a little bit of 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Yeah. We might read verse 40 through 42. Yeah. Check this out. Yeah. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters. And so came they unto another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth to a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. We're just gonna stop here. Yeah. So if they kept the statutes, yeah, so they knew not to mingle with other races, or should I say the heathen. Yeah. So let's stay in there and let's read that. Let's go read that topic. Yeah. Read. Yeah. Topic. Yeah. Tobit, chapter 4, verse 12. Yeah. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of thy seed, of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our father from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So they knew the law. Yeah? If they kept the statutes, they knew the law. But let's go to the scriptures, yeah? If you doubt so much, let's go to the scriptures. Yeah? You want to claim that these Indians were Israelites? So let's see. Yeah, let's see. Deuteronomy chapter 7. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3 and 4. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3 and 4. Let's see. Yeah. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy son, for they will turn away thy sons from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So the Most High did not want us to mingle with other races because we were holy people, right? So if these Indians, yeah, these Indians were the so-called 10 tribes, when they went to, if you say that, how's it called? If you say that America is Azareth, yeah, so when they went there, they might keep their statues, which they never kept in their own land. And Deuteronomy is one of their statutes. So let's see if they did not mix up with people. Yeah? I mean, today you look at them, they look very, very pale. Yeah? But anyway. All right. So we're going to see this mixing between the Europeans and the Indians, Americans. So we're still in the black slave Indian masters. Yeah. And we're going to go to page page 30, right? We should start by 29, page 29, matter of fact, at the very bottom. Yeah, all right. Among reformers committed to the project of civilizing Indians were those who believed that Indian assimilations might be hastened, at least in part, through intermarriage with white Americans. Toward the end of his presidency, Thomas Jefferson said to delegate from northeastern Indian nation, you will unite yourself with us, and we shall all be Americans. You will mix with us by marriage. Your blood will run in our veins. For those who entertain the possibility of intermarriage as a viable plan for assimilating and eventually effacing Indian peoples, the children born to marriages between Southern Indians, mainly women, and European American, mainly men, stood out as a shining example of salubrious effect of whiteness. Interesting. So it was good for them to intermarriage with these Europeans, these heathens, but they were all heathens anyway. Long after visions of Indian assimilation gave way to harsh realities of disposition and forced removal of Indian territory, Euro-American observed credited white traders, interpreters, and diplomats with introducing cattle slavery to Southern Indians and cultivating the institution in Indian countries. Again, notion of white supremacy informed these views among those who could not imagine that Indians might share white Americans' market-oriented aggressiveness. Let's jump down a little bit. The sons born of the unions of Euro-American men and Indian women rose to prominence in South Indian nation not because of their fathers were white, but because they were related to political powerful men through their mothers. David Folsom, for example, was a son of Euro-American Nathaniel Folsom and Chickasaw woman who was a cousin of Muhulatumbi. Well, they got crazy names. Here it is. Go to page 32. Yeah? Go to page 32. While certain Indians may have dispensed with the aspect of the dominant American racial ideology that exalt white supremacy and post-side Indian inferiority, they firmly embraced a racial hierarchy that degrades blackness and associated exclusively with enslavement. So these people thought that you was just a slave. But yet people want to be Indian nowadays. Yeah? And they hate the Africans. Whatever. Southern Indians developed their own idea about racial hierarchy that did not stem merely from inherited predilection or unthinking imitation. As Nancy Schulmark argued, Indians, like Europeans, had an intellectual equipment to construct knowledge. Owning people of African descent as property rested on ideas about the inferiority of blackness that came to be expressed as timeless and natural differences between Indian and black people. Yet you still think you're an Indian. By the 30s, as the late William McLaughlin, explained Southern Indians' origins myth asserted the separated creation of red, black, and white people. Racial languages, furthermore, worked to estrange the notion of inheriting, and hierarchical differences between Indians and black people. So what we gotta understand now is that they clearly knew that there were differences between blacks, and Indians, but yet today people want to be Indian. Black people want to be Indians. Yet today, some black people believe that the guidance is truth and they understand that they're Israelite, but no, they think that the Native Americans are Israelite too, when it's not even true. You see what I'm saying? And up to this day, these people know that they're different than you. They know. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, wisdom is not given to everybody, So let's go back to this website, and this document about Indian slavery, still dealing with the facts that the Indians mingled with the Europeans, Here's some facts and some explanation as well. Brigham Young and his followers, after establishing themselves in the area, became the most obvious outlet for these captives. Hesitant at first, the Mormons, required some encouragement from slavers who tortured children with knives or hot irons to call attention to their trade and elicit sympathy from potential buyer, and threatened to kill any child who went unpurchased. You see what I'm saying? So I want y'all to keep this in mind. Keep this in mind about these Mormons. You know what I'm saying? Why are they speaking about the Mormons? You see what I'm saying? And that's very interesting, because you're going to see that according to their saying, the Mormons, they know something about the Indians. But anyway, by the Lamanites Indian, because the Mormons call them Lamanites, and you're going to see after this, why they call them Lamanites. Children, Brigham Young consult his brethren in the town of Pavarowan and educate them to teach them the gospel, so that many generations will not pass ere they should become a white and delightsome people. You see what I mean? This was the same logic Spanish conquistadors had used in the 16th century to justify the acquisition of Indian slaves. So, as I was saying again and again and again and again, as I was trying to prove and I was trying to show, is that they thought they could bring these people to whiteness. And that's what they did, because today they are very, very pale. And they were red at first. You see what I mean? Or they used to call them red people. Alright, so throughout my research, I found out that the Mormons speaks of the Native Americans as being Israelites, which is very weird, you know what I'm saying? And who are they to trust, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got our scriptures and they came up with the Book of Mormons. But anyway, in the Book of Mormons, Lamanites are described as having received a skin of blackness to distinguish them from Nephites. The change in skin's color is often mentioned in conjunction with Elohim's curse on the descendants of Lamanites for their wickedness. So they basically think, according to that book, that you are cursed. The more black you are, the more cursed you are. Is that crazy? But let's really be more about these Mormons. The Book of Mormon described the animosity that the Lamanites held, believing that they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem because of the iniquities of their fathers, and that they were wronged in the wilderness by their brethren, and they were also wronged while crossing the sea, and again that they were wronged while in the land of their first inheritance after they had crossed the sea. Mosiah chapter 10 verse 12 through 13. I don't know this Mosiah thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where they get these scriptures from. I don't know how they came up with this book, these Mormons. And we are not to follow this nonsense. You see what I'm saying? Like these Mormons were saying that the so-called Indians, Americans were Israelites. It's been since like the 1800s. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta ask some questions. These campers, yeah, they may have read the book of Mormons or kind of things like this. You know what I'm saying? And that is very strange. Like, ain't no such thing as Lamanites. Real talk. But anyway, according to the Book of Mormons, the family of Lehi, or whatever you call it, described as a wealthy Hebrew prophets. The family of Ishmael and Zoram traveled from the Middle East to the Americas by boats in around 600 BC. Yeah, sometime after the death of Lehi in the Americas, Nephi and son Lehi was concerned that his brother Lemon and Lemuel were plotted to kill him, and so he, his family, and his followers left and went into the wilderness. The followers of Nephi called themselves Nephites and referred to others as Lamanites, after Lemon's Lehi's eldest son. Yeah, so that's crazy. I've never heard these names before, and it's not in our scriptures. So once again, these 12 chart talking about Native American Israelites don't make sense. It's a Mormon thing. It's a Mormon doctrine. So let's get back to the Apocrypha. We're going to do a little bit of Esdras. So still going back to the book of Esdras, second Esdras chapter 30 verse 40, yeah, through 42 again. Yeah, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. 42. We're going to stop there. That they might dare keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Yeah. So, one thing we need to understand. So if you are saying, yeah, that the Native Americans are Israelites, and that America is Azareth, that means that where they're gone, they were supposed to keep their statues. I showed you already that the mixing with other nations, yeah, was forbidden for the Israelites. And indeed, the Indians mixed with the Europeans, yeah. So that's disrespecting the law. That's like, you know what I'm saying? But there's something else I'm going to show, yeah. As this book, yeah, says, black slave and Indian masters. But we're going to get into this topic quickly, yeah. So we're going to go to Leviticus, yeah. Leviticus, yeah. Chapter 25, yeah. Verse 39, 40, and 42. Let's read it. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee, yeah, be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bound servant. So we're not supposed to enslave each other, yeah. And I'm talking about enslaving, like proper enslaving, yeah. 40. But as an hired servant, and as a sojourner he shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. Let's jump up to 42. For they are my servants, which are brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bound men. So the Most High is clear. Yeah? And we can read 43 too. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy Elohim. Interesting. Yeah? Interesting. So we're not supposed to enslave each other. Right? Right? Okay. So as you seen in the book of Esdras, yeah, if you're claiming that the natives were the 10 lost tribes, and that the America's Azareth, yeah, so that means that where they're gone, they must have had to keep the laws, right? Right? And I'm quoting from the book of the law right now, Leviticus, right? We all saying that you're not supposed to enslave. We're not supposed to enslave each other. Yeah? But let's see what the Indians did. Before we go check what the Indians did, yeah, we're going to go check a little bit about what happened in Africa during the time of slave trade, right? So we're going to go to page, so West African history, yeah, Western African history, once again, yeah, you can see the book. We're going to go to page, we're going to go to page 152, yeah, yeah, and we're going to read. Check this out now. The slave trade, yeah. Let's see what happened in Africa, or let's say a little bit about it. In traditional African society, slavery was an established institution long before the arrival of the Europeans. But the slave was principally a domestic servant with right and respect. That sounds very much like what I've read in Leviticus. Remember, if thy brother from thee be oxen poor, yeah, be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bound servant, but as an hired servant. And that is the same thing I'm seeing here. Yeah? The slave was principally a domestic servant with rights and respect, whose value depended more on the prestige that he accorded his master as a retained than his economic value as a plantation field hand. Let's jump a little bit down for educational purposes. Yeah, let's see what it says. Moreover, slavery in Africa never involved many people except in regions where Islamic states had extended the trade in slave or where a rudimentary plantation system such as that existing in Benin required sheep labor. Yeah? So, you got your thing. So, in case anyone wants to come and say, yeah, but in Africa, they were also slavery and they were enslaving each other. Check this out. Before the arrival of the European, respect for the servants, which were slaves. Yeah? As the Bible says. Interesting. See? But now, we're going to see what the Indians did. All right. So we're still dealing with what the Indians did to the Negroes during the slavery. So as you're going to see, these Indians are not Israelites. Because if they knew the law, and if they were the 10 lost tribes, that went to Azareth, they knew to not keep the Negroes as slaves if they were Israelite. But they're not Israelite. But you're going to see that while we're going to read, right? Black slave Indian masters again and again. So if you want to purchase this book, you can do it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go to page 29 and we're going to read. 10,000s of enslaved people were brought into Mississippi from across the southern state, and they endured extensive journeys over land and on riverboats before landing in Chickasaw and Chickasaw towns. Chickasaw and Chickasaw owned black people who had been born in Virginia and Tennessee. So remember what the Most High said in Leviticus. Yeah, if thy brother has been sold unto you, you can't keep him as a slave, basically, right? Let's keep reading. It was sold to traders and masters who brought them further south into the expanding kingdom of the early 19th century. Many African American men and women were sold from place to place and had several changes of master before Chickasaw masters purchased them in Mississippi. So we already know that we're not to do that, but these people were not Israelites, so that's why they did that. But anyway, let's keep it going. Yeah, let's keep it going a bit more. Right. We're gonna go to page 54 now. Yeah, among the slaves that Chickasaw and Chickasaw purchased from Georgia masters were a number of African American, and West Indies Caribbean women and men who had previously been members of black churches and in around Savannah. The regional and ethnic diversity of African descendant population in Chickasaw country is best understood in a broader regional context. Until 1810, approximately 20% of the enslaved population in the United States had been born in Africa. So remember, still these people had slaves. Yeah, and have you ever heard of the Cherokee Revolt and all that? All these Indians had slaves. So if you want to put it on the Chickasaw, you got to put it on the Creeks and the Seminoles and all these people. They did have slaves. Yes. You're going to go to another page, right? You're going to go to another page. Yeah. You're going to go to page. We're going to go to page 101, right? Let's read. For the enslaved men and women in Chickasaw and Chickasaw nations, the end of civil war offered little reason for jubilation. Unlike their Cherokee, Creeks, and Seminoles counterpart, Chickasaw and Chickasaw lawmakers did not abolish slavery either during or at the close of the war. These people try to keep y'all in. You see what I'm saying? That's nuts. Anyway, the Union victory in the state did not automatically precipitate the abolition of slavery in the politically autonomous Indian nation, nor did it immediately restore treaty relationships between the United States and the Indian allies of the Confederacy. Months after the war's end and slavery's demise in the United States, Chickasaw and Chickasaw lawmakers remained hesitant about declaring the end of the cattle slavery and refused to contemplate the possibility of legally and socially refining people of African descent as something other than slaves. So, if they were so much Israelite, why did they? That's nuts. I don't know what to say to y'all. And that's why having scholarships is very, very important. This is very, very important because it can help to kill a lot of false doctrines. Yeah? We're going to read more. We're going to read more. Let's go to page 103. Yeah? 103. Black people in the Chickasaw and Chickasaw Nation waited longer than most before gaining their freedom and a clear picture of their future. Let's read. While Chickasaw and Chickasaw leaders debated among themselves and negotiated with U.S. policy maker over the abolition of slavery and placed the freed slave in Indian territory, black people pursued their own vision of freedom, which centered a social and economic independence from their former owners, which were the Indians, right? Yeah, and that's crazy what they did to us. Yeah, that's crazy what they did to us. Even though I'm not an African American, I'm still African. This was my ancestors too. So, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Anyway, as in so many places across the slaveholding South, enslaved people in the Chickasaw and Chickasaw Nation neither needed nor waited for official declaration of slavery's demise and to begin organizing their lives in accordance with their own vision of freedom. Yeah, just wanted to read that a little bit because yes, people used to organize themselves and knew that they were freed, but these devils, Indians, did not want to let them go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they did not want to let them go for real. Yeah. So now we are going to go page 110 and read a little thing. Yeah. Let's read. In Sanborn's second report, filed at the end of January 1866, his assessment had changed only slightly. It found that there is still much that is wrong and cruel in the way the Chickasaw and Chickasaws treated their former slaves. Really? Okay. Even as slaveholder consented that slavery was over and hired black men and women as paid labor and sharecroppers, the report of anti-black violence did not subside. In one especially gruesome account, Sanborn to the South reported, the fresh skull of a Negro is now hanging on a tree. Wow, really? But they are Israelites, right? These Indians. Anyway, with a bullet hole through it. Rumors circulated that up to 600 freedom people, so black people, had been murdered in the Red River Valley. Yeah, military personnel in the region blamed Indians for isolated incidents and concerted campaigns of anti-black violence. But they also noted the regional circumstances that exacerbate, Chickasaw and Chickasaw hostility towards their former slaves. So that's crazy. But still y'all trying to call them Israelites. Or still y'all trying to say you Indian. There you go. Be an Indian. But you be my enemy too. Yeah? That's crazy. That is crazy. That's crazy. We're gonna go to another page right now. Yeah, we got time to find. Yeah, we got time. We got all the time. We got all the time. Yeah, so page 115. Let's read this. Very blur a little bit. All right. The treaty also included a contingency plan regarding black people's citizenship. If the nation failed to grant full citizenship to the former slave by the June 1868, sorry to be blurry, the federal government will no longer hold the $300,000 in trust for the Chickasaw and Chickasaw nations. Yeah, really? Instead, the United States will retain the funds for the use and benefits of the former slaves in the Chickasaw and Chickasaw nations. If the Chickasaw and Chickasaw nations did not recognize black people as equal citizens by June 1868, the United States agreed that within 19 days, the federal government will remove all such persons of African descent as may be willing to remove. Black people who opt to remain in the Chickasaw and Chickasaw nations forfeited their claims to the share of $300,000 and will be subject to the same laws as other citizens of the United States in the said nation. So, as you just read, yeah, they had to play games with the Indians, telling them that they ain't gonna get no money if they don't let these black people go. Yeah? You see what I mean? But still you want to call yourself a Indian. There you go. There you go. Enjoy. Yeah. Let's go to another page. Quickly. To the start, page 120. Yeah. Indian and white vigilance and trace table lawmakers sought almost any opportunity that arose to keep black people as close to enslavement as possible. Really? Judging from the records of their complaints and pleas for assistance during the winter of 1865 and 66, black people seemed to face violence, terror, and coercions at every turn. Indian leaders had made clear their reluctance to abolish slavery and their unwillingness to recognize black people's status and right as citizens. Wow, really? This position was affirmed, unequivocally in November 1866, when the Chickasaw and Chickasaw legislatures each voted to refuse black people's citizenship and requested that the federal government remove former slaves from the nation in accordance with Article 3 of the treaty. So that is crazy what I'm reading right now. And when I read that for the first time, I was surprised that people still want to talk about these people, these Indians or Israelite and all this nonsense. When they did all that, did not want to recognize y'all as a citizen. That's crazy. And today some black people trying to claim Indian. Like, like for real. Like, nah, seriously, people. Y'all need to wake up. Y'all all need to wake up. Yeah? And seriously, y'all need to wake up. Yeah, this 12 chart is a lie. these Indians and natives, or whatever you want to call them, are not Israelite. They're not your brother. You got it all twisted and you got it all wrong. Anyway, yeah, I'm on page 17 right now. In the early 19th century, Chickasaw and Chickasaw men and women embraced the idea of acquiring black people as property, equating blackness with lifelong hereditary and degraded servitude, first in Mississippi and then after their removal in the 1830s to Indian Territory, now Oklahoma. Wealthy and middling Chickasaw borrowed, bartered, and paid cash on the barrel to buy enslaved black people from nearby white slave owner, professional slave traders, and each other. Remember what the scripture says again. Thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bound servant, thy brother. So if you think that the Indians are your brother, according to this false Twitter chart, yeah, and they are the people that went to Nazareth and that were supposed to keep the laws that they did not keep in their own land, you got it all twisted, my friend. Here we go. Yeah, let's jump down a little bit. But buying, selling, and owning African descendant people as property was not simply like other market practices that took root in southern Indian nation. Slaveholding and associated transaction of providing for owning and exploiting black people's labor and reproduction required that native people engage decidedly new meanings of property, race, and gender that had lasting consequences for Indian and African American alike. Slaveholding Chickasaws and Chickasaw did not blindly adopt and imitate the racial ideology of their Euro-American neighbors in Mississippi. So they knew what they were doing. See what I mean? But instead crafted and refined their own ideologies of racial identification and differentiation that reflected the particular social, economic, and political conditions of their time and place. So you got it all. Yeah, if I'm not reading it the right way, or you cannot understand my English, you can read for yourself. You can pause it. You can read for yourself. Scholarship is very important, as you can see. Yeah, I've used several books. It's all saying the same thing. Yeah, so you're not gonna say I woke up one day and I just made it up. And it's nonsense. The scholarship does not lie. And I've also used the scriptures. Yeah. Y'all want to use prophecies? Prophecies don't fit with this 12 chart nonsense. The Hispanics, Native Americans, and all that Indians are not Israelites. Neither the European are Israelites. In fact, only the Negroes are Israelites. You get it? Got it? Yeah? All right. So now we can jump into the second part of this documentary and learn about the Negroes, because they're trying to claim that Negroes in America are Judah and Negroes in Jamaica or West Indies or Benjamin, and then the Asians are Levite. What is this nonsense? Like, real talk. Yeah? And that does not line up with scriptures. So please, people, learn and search for everything. Do not believe what people say because it sounds good. See what I mean? Yeah? Okay, right. All right. So what have we learned today? So, in first we saw the migration of the Native Americans, yeah, as like it was a part of East Asian and Aboriginal kind of. So that's why you find some dialects like East Asians nowadays, and back then you had some dialects like Aboriginal, or should I say dark-skinned people. Yeah, we also discovered that African had discovered America before the Europeans, and that they brought culture and religions to the natives over there. That explains why you see the pyramids of Egypt all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Over there in America. Yeah, and also explain why you see some of the Native Americans looking like Africans, replacing their mouths and all that, and then spikes in their nose and all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there you go. Well, that's how we discovered. We also discovered that there were a mixing between some of the Negro slaves, runaway Negro slaves, yeah, and the Indians, yeah, and also that the slave used to marry Indian women, but it was for reason of higher status in the society, as we see today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, when our brothers, spoilers and all that, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, what else have we learned? We also learned that Indian natives went into slavery. Interesting. And like that, that their slavery does not line up with the scriptures, because the prophecy says that no man shall buy you. So the slavery of the Israelites, yeah, no man will help them, yeah. But we have found that Indian slavery were illegal while the African slavery was legal, yeah. So keep that in mind, don't forget about it as we go forth in this investigation, yeah. What else have we learned? We learned why they stopped the slavery as well, because they thought that the Indians, or the natives, we could call them Native Americans, were more likely to get into whiteness, you know what I'm saying, or they view them as humans, while they did not view Africans as humans. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, very interesting indeed. What else have we learned? We learned about the mixing of the Indians and the Europeans. Yeah, we does not line up with scriptures, because when you want to say that the Native Americans are the 10 lost tribes, and then America was Ezra, and then according to the book of Ezra, the people from the lost tribes, yeah, they were going to keep the statutes and commandments of the Most High in the land where they're going from. You know what I'm saying? And if they did, they were not to mingle with other races or the heathen, you know, which the Indian did. So, you know what I mean? We kind of understand that they were not Israelites by that. But not only that, that saying that the Indians or the Native Americans are Israelites also is similar to what the Mormons say in their books. Yeah, and we also know that they're not the people to trust when it comes to scriptures, because they created their own book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So basically, the 12 charts are saying that the Indians, Native Americans, are Israelites is a Mormon doctrine. What else have we learned? We learned that the Indians enslaved black people too, yeah, and which does not line up with scriptures again, because Leviticus says that we cannot enslave our brothers and sisters. So let's jump into part 2 now, and there you go.
Our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
There's a lot said to whether or rather not certain groups of people should receive payments or reparations for the struggle, pain, or disenfranchisement. When we look over the history, we'll see that there's multiple peoples who have received payments for their pain. In 1990, the United States gave $1.6 billion to the Japanese Americans. Also in 1990, Austria gave $25 million to the Holocaust survivors. In 1988, Canada gave 250,000 square miles of land to the Indians and Eskimos. Also that year, they gave $230 million to the Japanese Canadians. In 1986, the United States of America gave $32 million because of an 1839 treaty for the Ottawas of Michigan. In 1985, the United States gave $31 million to the Chippewas of Wisconsin. Also that year, $12.3 million to the Seminoles of Florida. Also, $105 million to the Sioux of South Dakota. In 1980, the United States gave $81 million to the colombus of Oregon. In 1971, the United States gave $1 billion plus 44 million acres of land to the Alaska Natives in the land settlement. In 1952, Germany gave $822 million to Holocaust survivors. But from 1865 to present, for the African American slaves who experienced genocide, terrorism, and slavery for close to 400 years, not a dime, not a single dollar.